Carlos Cortéz came to Chicago from Milwaukee, Wisconsin. And when he came, he was already in his 40s. And this would have been in the 1960s. 1965 is when he got here. So his impact in the arts in Chicago are primarily within the community of Chicano or Mexican American artists. Printmaking and murals are certainly the two art forms that the community was really churning out in that time period. And as always, he gravitated towards artwork that had a political idea with it. So social justice, his social practice was really all about community and sort of advancing and bringing out the lost histories and the lost heroes, people who we don't consider to be heroes, but have played a tremendous role within different neighborhoods or communities. So I would say that since the mid-60s into the 70s and the 80s, Carlos Cortéz influenced the Mexican-American community, the Chicanos in Chicago, but before that he was working greatly within the socialist artists and political cartoons. Some of the biggest challenges, the two biggest challenges I could think of are actually what somebody might call a good problem. It was, first of all, selecting the linoleum blocks and wood blocks that he printed from, selecting those to display. Besides the imagery and the message and the very popular ones, you know, some of these linoleum blocks are kind of old, and when you put them on the wall, they don't necessarily stand out the way you want them to. So there were some aesthetic choices as well. We have the Carlos Cortéz archive here at the National Museum of Mexican Art, and so selecting through that archive, through hundreds of linoleum blocks and woodcut prints, woodcuts, to select the 50 or so that would be on display was quite the challenge. Some of them are fragile, some of them are you know, not in the best of shape, and so working with the permanent collection department as well as a group of installers, it was pretty tricky to pick it. It wasn't like it wasn't like when we curate artwork. These are sort of almost like artifacts, fragile artifacts that need to be wall mounted for this installation. The other thing that was challenging was the selection of local artists to also be a part of this exhibit. This exhibit, at the heart of the exhibit is Carlos Cortéz and his work and his life. And then around the perimeter walls of the gallery are other artists. Most of them are still living. Many of them are young artists, up and coming, with a social practice, and selecting the works that really shed light on the work that Carlos was doing. In other words, he was pretty innovative for his time. He was doing a lot of artwork that artists today continue to do, and sort of matching the Chicago local artist with Carlos Cortéz's practice was not easy, and that's because there are so many great artists in Chicago to choose from. So reducing that selection was pretty tricky. Carlos Cortéz Archive is a very unique category of work and objects that are part of our permanent collection. For the most part, we collect artwork. Very few pieces in the collection are not considered artwork. We have artifacts, ancient artifacts. We have memorabilia, so a lot of postcards and calendars, things like that. But the Carlos Cortéz Archive is very unique in that it has a lot of, let's just say, personal things. So his hat, his beer mug, ceramic beer mug that he made, his pocket watches and his pocket knives, a lot of the things that he collected and he kept around him in his life are in the archive. The archive, for the most part, was brought over in 2005. That was the year that he passed away. A team of museum staff went to his apartment, packed things up, brought them to the museum, and we are still going through a lot of those boxes, whether they are newspaper clippings or old family photographs in an album. We have all of his personal effects that shed light on what he was doing, when he was doing things, his influences. But those are the things that I think will continue to feed new research on Carlos Cortéz in coming years. So the archive is really this personal look at Carlos Cortéz through his belongings and through the things he kept and collected. I was privileged enough to know Carlos. I got to meet him, I got to hang out with him a little bit, and I really, like anybody who knew Carlos, was amazed at everything this man did and what he believed in. And I think that he would be an incredible role model for new generations of Chicagoans, of Midwesterners, of Mexican Americans, of people who are politically active. I think he is an incredible, an exceptional role model. And I think the more we learn about him and his record album collection or his poetry, I think we start to realize what really mattered to him and how it continues to be something important for present day generations. I hope people can come see his artwork, but also see the person, see the artist, not just the artwork, and take away from there the idea that everyone is creative and everybody has something to contribute. His understanding of the everyday person and the contributions to society are beautiful, and I feel that it's those ideas and visions that come out in his artwork and his prints and his poetry that are worth relearning or remembering as the next generation of Chicagoans